Well, next piece, it's called Failing, and the title is Failing, a very difficult piece for the double bass, and indeed, it is a difficult piece. It is a challenge. It was written by Tom Johnson, and it's a great challenge because in this piece, I'm playing the bass and I'm reading a text, and that's not an easy thing. Let's go directly and then I'm playing Failing for you. Hopefully I won't fail and I will succeed and I will make the composer wrong, but we'll see. It's a challenge. Thank you. Let's go now to Failing. In Failing, I am required to read a long text while playing music written above the text. The text must be read out loud at a more or less normal pace, which is pretty much what I'm doing right now, and I must not allow the music to slow me down. The task is fairly easy for a while because there's not much music, and most of it comes at the end of clauses and sentences, almost like normal punctuation. Later on, there is more music and the task becomes more difficult. So difficult, in fact, that I will probably not be able to do it without either slowing down my reading speed or else making mistakes in the music. At least the composer feels confident that I will eventually begin to run into trouble, which is why he called this piece Failing. So far, the task's still not that difficult, but the challenge is that as the piece becomes more difficult, I must continue reading the text at a normal pace and playing the music as well as possible, just as I did at the beginning. By now, as you can see, I am already rather busy just playing the notes and reading the text. But the text says that I should also try to listen to what I am doing as much as possible and speak loud enough to keep a good balance between the speaking and the playing. Ideally, both the speaking and the music should flow easily and naturally, so that the audience can easily follow either element at any time. Sometimes the music has a strong and aggressive quality and I have to speak quite loudly to be heard. At other times, the music is lyrical, almost sentimental, and I must speak more softly so that the speaking will not cover up the music. But I should make sure, my dear friends, that the text is always easy to understand. If my voice fluctuates too much with the rises and falls of the music, the text may become difficult to understand, and that too be a form of failing, as you could imagine, because the text makes it clear that the speaking should always be easy for the audience to understand, regardless of what happens musically. By now, this task is already rather challenging, but I have practiced this piece quite a bit, and that, my friend, is a fact as well as simply a line in the text. So, unless I'm having a particularly bad performance, I could still handle the music quite adequately without slowing down my delivery of the text. I should be able to keep everything well in tune and play the dynamic markings accurately. If I am concentrating well, I should even be able to maintain a good balance between the speaking and the playing. And remember, of course, to make the text easy to understand, even though that the mood of the music sometimes changes radically, but soon the music becomes more difficult yet, and I will probably start failing in one way or another. I should point out, however, that I am not obliged to fail. After all, the audience cannot see the score that I am reading, and no one will be the wiser if I were simply to leave out whatever passages I'm unable to play. People might be very impressed by my playing and think that I have succeeded in playing a piece which the composer thought it could not be played successfully by any bass player. But of course, by leaving out the hardest parts like this, then I would be cheating and the performance would not really be a success at all, since this piece is about failing. By now, failing is extremely difficult. Wait just a moment. I'm talking about this piece called failing, which is extremely difficult. Well, there are a few relaxed moments now and then, but most of the time I am required to play a tricky chromatic melody at a fast speed, and by now I am probably beginning to fail in one way or another. Of course, I don't particularly enjoy failing, although sometimes I think it would be better if I cheated a little so that I would not fail so badly and people would be more impressed by my playing ability. But on the other hand, if I do my best and play most of the music well, it should be clear that I am doing the task as well as anybody could expect me to do it. Moreover, I will be interpreting the piece accurately, since it is obvious that failing is about failing, and if I succeed in playing everything accurately without slowing down my speaking or cheating or anything else, then I will fail to fail, and thus I will miss the point. Anyway, I almost want to fail because everybody fails at certain times and in certain ways anyway, and because that is what this piece is all about, and because I want to interpret it appropriately. But of course, I must not try to fail. I must try to succeed in doing the task well without slowing down and without missing notes, even though that by now it is almost impossible to succeed for very long. If I try to fail and then fail, that would be a kind of a success and not a failure at all. So I must try to succeed. That way, when I fail to succeed, I will succeed in communicating the essence of the piece, even though that I will fail to accomplish the task as it is set up. In other words, I will not be able to fail unless I'm trying to succeed, and I will not succeed at interpreting the piece sensitively unless my performance turns out to be, oh no, a failure. Or put it in another way, I would probably succeed in failing to succeed, not only because the music is so difficult, but also because if I fail to succeed in failing to succeed, I will fail to fail, and thus I will miss the point, since failing is obviously about failing, and since any successful performance must be a qualified failure. In any case, I continue reading the text and playing the music as well as possible, attempting to maintain a normal pace and make the text comprehensible. And I'm now probably continuing to fail, but I should not be failing quite as often now as I was before, because the music is returning to some of the more lyrical material. But even that material is difficult to play as expressively as I would like under these circumstances, but at least there is not much danger that I will miss notes, and if I concentrate, then I can maintain a good balance between the speaking and the playing. Soon, however, I will be faced with a fresh difficulty. The text is about to run out, and the music continues for another minute or so, and during that time, I must decide for myself what to talk about as I play. My remarks are to be genuinely improvised and should include specific reference to this particular performance and to the degree in which I have been failing or failing to fail or failing to succeed to fail, or well, whatever, you get the idea. As before, I must continue to speak at our normal pace in a normal tone of voice and maintain a balance between the speaking and the playing. As an additional challenge, I am supposed to link the written part of the text with the improvised part so smoothly that no one should be able to tell exactly where the improvised speaking began. And as before, I must continue keeping a good balance between the speaking and the music, and making sure that the original intentions of the composer don't set in which he wanted me to fail. But I have studied this piece quite a bit. Now I am running out of music, and I don't foresee how can I probably make a mistake just playing these simple notes. But I wanted to thank everybody that came to this virtual concert. Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm looking forward to play again in a situation like this. So, good night. Thank you.